This is the Owl of Wisdom. Like and subscribe for 10 years of good luck. If you don't, it won't be pretty. Albert Einstein once said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. What was your moment when someone judged you like that? Not me, but my brother. When he was in elementary school, when grades are based on things other than test scores, the teacher noted on his report card that he needs to work on his skill at cutting with scissors. My brother is left-handed, and the scissors in the classroom were for right-handed people. I needed a performance art class for my degree. I took drawing. I made many mistakes and etiquette errors. Did you know you're not supposed to talk to the nude models? I didn't. It's also really frowned upon to request specific positions because you find drawing foreshortening quite challenging. Oh, also, I suck at drawing as it turns out. The prof wanted to give me a D. We had a chat. I told him I should be graded like I was a psych major with no talent whatsoever who did develop a number of technical improvements over the semester. I got an A. He said I should have taken debate instead because I clearly had a talent for that. I currently work at my local McDonald's. I'm 16, and since I live in Quebec, it's a French establishment. French is my third language, but I'm still constantly treated like I'm stupid when I don't completely understand. The worst part is, I'm very eloquent in my first and second language, Bulgarian and English. Public speaking and writing are my passions. But nobody at work thinks I could possibly be intelligent because I'm being judged on my fluency in my third language. Never mind the fact that speaking 3 languages when you're in high school is more than any of them can do. Shit is frustrating. Was contacted by a recruiter and pitched a job opening that fit my description perfectly, as recruiters do. I pushed back and asked to see the exact listing so I could verify. I questioned a bit on the requirements that stated specific programming knowledge and was assured multiple times that, while it was on there, it wasn't the primary job function and they don't need a programmer. So, booked the interview. Showed up, said hellos, and was thrown at a terminal and asked to write a pile of custom code for something. Had to politely explain that I was assured multiple times by the recruiter that this wasn't a programming position and was told to just give it a shot anyway since you're already here. Like, you're looking for a programmer and you're so hard up that you'd waste your time interviewing someone who's just told you that they don't program at all? One of the interviewers was their lead programmer and she was extremely petulant toward me for wasting their time. It was quite the experience. In high school I was really good at debate and aced all my government classes. However, I had to take a pottery class for an art credit. I sucked. Hardcore. My vase looked like some bees had taken crack before they built their hive. The teacher legitimately thought I was special needs. 2 years later I was working retail to help put myself through college. I ran into the teacher one day. "It is so awesome you have a job. Good for you." I felt like Kevin Malone being patronized by Holly Flax. My mother loves to tell this story to her friends. Had an English teacher that said any stories I wrote were bad. I thought that I'd done a good job on it, so I showed it to a different English teacher who said it was brilliant, but I needed to spell check it. Turns out the first teacher basically didn't read it, just saw the spelling errors. Several years later I got diagnosed with dyslexia. I used to play a lot of poker on my phone, but never with real people. At one point I was up well over $1 million. Edit, not real money. One day I went to a convention and there was a charity poker game. Since a lot of time on the phone the computer gives you your options and so on, I was excruciatingly awkward and came across as a bumbling idiot who didn't know what he was doing. This wasn't intentional, but it did work in my favor. I won a nice tablet that night. In kindergarten we were learning penmanship and my teacher was telling us how to write our alphabet, but for some reason I could not write the letters, no matter how hard I tried. since I was able to write the alphabet before I got very frustrated and starting crying. Turns out she was showing the class how to do letters with your right hand, and I was left-handed. I was always told how bad sleeping in class was despite acing my classes, and teachers would complain to my parents about how much I slept. I felt so horrible for so long, and slept early almost every day to no avail. Turns out I have narcolepsy. Playing sports growing up, I would make these comically bad errors. The ball would hit me directly in the face, or I would swing at a pitch too late. Everyone gave me shit, even the coaches and parents. I kept playing because I enjoyed being active and around my friends, but I never understood why. No matter how much I practiced, I struggled with basic things that everyone else could do without thinking. I go to the eye doctor as an adult, and he tells me that I have a condition in one of my eyes that means I don't have binocular vision, and as a result have very poor depth perception. It's physically impossible for me to track a moving object in space like everyone else. When I was at a company, had me interview for a different position than I had applied for. The position they interviewed me for was one I knew nothing about, and told them as much. Despite me telling them before each round of interviews that they had made a mistake, I still had to endure a full day of people asking me questions that I had no answer to. One teacher was intent on holding me back the first year in school, kindergarten/elementary, age 5, because I sucked at arts and crafts. The next year they let me skip a grade cause I already knew how to read and write, which I taught myself a year prior. They just didn't test it at the time, and it wasn't part of the curriculum the first year. When I went to a state university, they opened the freshman orientation with that quote, then said that they want to help build students' curriculum to their needs and what works with them. And then we were given very specific classes that we needed to take, several of which the professor said were weed out classes. They proceeded to judge every fish on its ability to climb. I was the fish trying and failing to climb the tree, and my boss called to offer me a position swimming. That time my boss called me to tell me I sucked at my job, but followed it up by telling me I got crazy good comments about this one small part of my job, so would I like to do that full time. Did the new thing for 6 years and used it to land another, even better, position at the same company. Thanks for recognizing my talents, old boss. You were a bit of a shit boss, but when it mattered you really were a help. Edit, since so many are asking, here's actual detail. Moved from software implementation, which had a bit of a teaching component to it, to formally teaching how to use the software. Have since moved into writing the content that is taught. I mostly judged myself. My whole life I pressured myself to be just as smart as my dad and brother, who were phenomenal in math and engineering. My dad has an IQ of 138 and my brother always had A's and made the dean's list in post-secondary. The institution gave out entire cakes to those on the dean's list. I struggled so hard in math. I tried so hard, exponentially more than any other kid, because I felt like if I didn't get good at math, or any subject for that matter, then I wasn't smart. Always a C+B student. Because I wasn't good at something, I very much lived years feeling I was stupid. Then as I grew older I realized that my skills in art were actually worth something. My art teachers were always very impressed. Soon it progressed to people making me offers. The school's police officer even had me make him something. I had some artwork displayed at the city's airport. And when I expressed to my dad that I felt like there were no jobs for me on my degree, he said to try something else. I asked what, and he said art, which I thought was a little funny for the starving artist stereotype. In that moment, it felt like he equated my artistic skills to his intelligence and success. When I was in the Navy I used to get in fairly frequent trouble for the suggestions I made for improving operational efficiencies. As an outside contractor they were quite happy to pay me $200 an hour to say the exact same thing. I'm very dyslexic. It results in me having the spelling and grammar of a middle schooler, plus it makes me have trouble hearing similar sounding words. Letters and phonic sounds don't always connect to the idea they represent in my head. I read/listen to the overall idea and not the individual letters. As a result, school was a very mixed bag. I had to be very hardworking to compensate for the disability. I became very good at working with people. I learned to plan ahead because I can't do things last minute and developed a strong logic skill set. The problem is that many teachers thought I was lazy because I would describe what I thought while the other person wrote it down, etc. In college, the department head of chemistry is the teacher that fully understand who I'm as an academic student. He thought it was hilarious that I had the highest lab grade while the low end of the class portion. Apparently it caused heated discussions as why the only non-premed was doing so much better than the premed students in laboratory classes. I think he was the only teacher that appreciated that I was good at working with people and terrible at writing papers for classes. I was chased a lot in middle school/early high school for loving hockey. Would constantly get my knowledge tested, my appearance would get brought into it. Why would a fat girl like hockey? Had someone ask me if it was my passion and laugh in my face when I said yes. Jokes on them. I'm an officially credentialed journalist by the NHL now and have personally spoken to more players than they could dream of buying autographs from. The time my middle school art teacher called my parents because she thought I was purposefully mocking her by making my art bad. I literally can't draw beyond a 3rd grade level unless I'm copying an object right in front of me. My parents basically cussed her out after they saw how hurt I was. When I worked on farms, I was a simple farmhand. No one thought much of me because I was the bottom of the totem pole, and one day a sheep was having trouble giving birth to her babies. No matter which way the vet and my boss turned her or helped her, she couldn't give birth. However, the night before I watched a program on the TV where a woman had the exact same issue during her labor and they stood her up and she gave birth easily. So I helped the sheep to get as vertical as possible and the birth just happened in a snap and it was easy for her. No one questioned me after that and I was seen as the smartest of the farm hands. This was basically my childhood because I was bad at math. I guess most children goes through this, which is very sad. Only at uni did I realize that I didn't have to be good at everything. I had a professor who spoke 13 languages but couldn't count how much 5 plus 4 is. He's the best at his field. When I get introduced to a new person but I'm not part of the conversation, I just sit and wait. Then I get told, "Oh, you're really quiet, huh?" No, I just didn't want to interrupt, but judge the country kids in my English class for being dumb fucks until I did an autos class. What I found incomprehensible they could do with these. I had become the dumb fuck. I lived in Argentina from us for a little bit as a kid. At a parent-teacher conference early in the school year, one art teacher had to break it to my parents that I might be mentally disabled because I don't respond or participate. They let her know I didn't speak any Spanish at the time. She had no idea because none told her, and my name is Spanish and it just didn't occur to her. USMC judges you on your ability to run. No matter how good or bad you are at anything, if you can run fast, you are presumed better at everything. It overcomes crimes, mental retardation, and absolute stupidity. My grade school teacher said my handwriting was so bad I must think I was training to be a doctor. Now I'm one. Hey, you're doing computer science, right? Can you fix my PC? Once someone on Reddit started complaining about something and said I wasn't a real man for a bunch of reasons. I'm a woman, so they're not exactly wrong. My husband loved to read as a child despite his mild dyslexia, but in 2nd grade he started to really struggle with school. After being held back for a year and being told by a teacher that he was a slow kid, another teacher took note of the oddity of my husband's change of learning. He suggested to his mom to have his eyes checked. Turns out my hubby is blind as a bat and needed glasses. Sadly, he never recovered his love of reading. Me judging another guy. I served with this guy who we all believe was a complete idiot. Just everything he said and did was idiotic. While we were in Thailand, he spent an hour talking to a Thai Marine. I will be damned if he didn't learn enough of the language to take a taxi around a city. I firmly believe he would have become fluent if we left him there for a week. 90% of what Albert Einstein quotes on the internet was not said by Albert Einstein. Internet 2019. I see it all the time in the army, based on fitness test scores, or even perceived fitness test scores. As one of my old military science professors taught my class, the military is the only place in the world where, for some reason, people will act like you're a total idiot, drag on the team, and failure at life because you did 41 push-ups instead of at least 42, despite being the exact same person and critical member of the team from a day before. Remembering people's names. I'm great at remembering faces and things about people, except for their names. People think I'm inconsiderate, when in fact I just can't remember names half the time. It doesn't help that I can remember massive amounts of dumb trivia and school material, but just not the names of people I meet. I was a ballerina and I always had a hard time picking up choreography. Other dancers could watch a dance once and know it, some could even do it from a video. I needed to be shown a combination a few times, and to go over it a few more, and even then I would forget it the next day. I felt really stupid. Anyway, ballet didn't really work out, and now I have a PhD, so I'm not a complete idiot. Thanks for watching the Chronicles of Reddit. Like and subscribe for a marvelous life of adventure.